Now, the other thing which we know about online learning is the personalized kind of learning that is involved. Because, for example, maybe there's a tutor who is maybe coordinating the lesson. So it's kind of you have a personalized way of running from that tutor one-on-one. As compared to if it's a class where it's just a general kind of teaching. So this is a mode which, of course, can make a student feel I've been attended as far as my personal needs are concerned. So those are some of the aspects which most probably people have not thought them through. But once maybe we bring them to right to that, and you can appreciate what online learning is all about and its advantages, the value that they can bring to you. The other example maybe I can give, for example, is where we are here, for example, here in Kenya, and you see somebody holding a certificate, maybe from a college in Switzerland, in USA, in UK, and you've been with that person all along. So what happens is that you realize that person maybe has been having virtual classes in the evening at the end of the day, and maybe at the end of the month, that person has got a certificate. You can imagine if that person was to wait until he or she travels to that country. It would have been very difficult. So with virtual learning, you can get certificates maybe from US, from say Harvard, from another university in UK, from Cambridge, and so on and so forth. So I think that is the emphasis which I can give, and I know John will take up from here and maybe conclude.
I want to add on to what Sam has said and emphasize on the peer-to-peer learning and say that there are collaborative tools that AI and online learning will actually make possible, and this is not possible in the traditional classroom. For instance, when you look at Google Meet, we also have Teams, Microsoft Teams, students to interact. You will come to discover that some of these tools have the ability or was missing in the traditional classroom. And by virtue of the fact that these collaborative tools have the ability to record, it implies that even the student can actually transcript. And even that transcript can now form part of the notes. And the student can even go a little bit further and take that transcript, put it into AI. And remember, the transcript itself is generated by AI because AI was able to capture the voice and put that into text. So from voice to text. Still, the student is able to take that text, put it into AI, and interrogate AI further and ask, what exactly did the teacher or tutor mean by this concept? What informs this thinking? Or how can I understand this better? And so on and so on. If you look at the traditional classroom, that was impossible. But now with online learning merged with AI, that is actually a possibility. And to add on to that, there's also the concept of what we call adaptive learning. Adaptive learning is about testing the complexity of the lesson. Because we all know that in pedagogy and also in whether it is traditional or online learning, the concept of complexity is something that is very important and have to be considered so as for education to be effective. And that's why courses are classified as intermediate, foundation, intermediate, and maybe advanced, because we are talking about the complexity. You do not want a student who has just gotten into this lesson to start at the advanced level because they will have a very big challenge with that. You want to start at the foundation level. So what has this got to do with, or how has this issue been addressed in AI and online learning? It has been addressed in a very easy manner. AI in the online learning is able now to query the students about a particular lesson and ask, do you understand this concept? And if the student says, no, could you explain it better? If the student repeats that severally, then AI is able now to adjust the complexity of that and maybe start with lower terms of that are lower in terms of complexity. And then it's the same thing now with students who are already at a very advanced level. AI may start somewhere in online learning. It may start somewhere and then see this concept, the student seems to really getting this concept very well, and is not even asking any question about it. So AI now senses that and is able now to say, let me upgrade myself. Let me start having a discussion with a student on a more complex topic. And at that point in time, now the student is going out to ask, okay, I did not understand this. Could you explain it better? And no. And now AI is able now to know this is the level of this student. And therefore, it is able now to adjust even further topics to ensure that the student is catered for at that level. And this is something that you could not have gotten with traditional learning, because as much as the tutor would look at the whole classroom, it was very difficult for the tutor to single out a specific student and understand the level of complexity. It was assumed that all the students, they could be 40 or 50 in a class, they have the same level of understanding. But we all know that there are some students who are brighter than others. And therefore, we should also have what we call adaptive learning, whereby those students who are easily have gotten the material very easily, their content also is upgraded, and the ones that are really slow, you also downgrade the content. And this is not possible in traditional learning because you are teaching all the 40 students in one class, and it's very hard for you to know who and who. But now with individualized AI training, you are now able to know who is slow, who is not slow, and how do we put them to speed, and so on and so on. That's just one of the benefits. Another benefit that we could look at, just a second. Another item that we could look at and that makes online learning something worth thinking about is about credentials and authentication. I know there has always been this worry, there has always been this pain point about the authenticity of certificates. Of course, with online learning, the same challenge can be there, because we are saying that the same certificates that you get from the traditional learning method, you can also get it from online learning. But now the beauty about online learning is that it goes an extra step and can integrate with blockchain. By integrating with blockchain, the certificates can actually be put in a way that they are distributed, the data is about those certificates is distributed. What do I mean? The way blockchain works is that a certificate credentials or a certificate is stored in one machine called a node, another machine called a node, another machine called a node. And for that certificate to be amended, all the nodes must be in agreement. If one person amends the certificate in one node, then there's going to be a conflict, and there's going to be what we call lack of inferential integrity. Therefore, nobody can amend any of those certificates, and this is how now blockchain can be used to ensure that there's what we call authentication of credentials and ensure there's what we call integrity in credentials. This is something that is possible with online learning. And the reason why we are saying this is because in the past, it's historically noted the forging certificates is something that has been there, and this is usually associated with traditional learning. Now, in a nutshell, then, we could say that if we want to have what we call data that is useful, certificates that are useful, certificates that can be relied upon, then online learning merged with AI can actually help to achieve that. And also, remember that this is what we call the coursework. There is the exams, there are the scores. So we are not just talking about the certificate level. We can actually go a little bit down and ensure the authenticity and the integrity of the data is even maintained at the scores level, whereby those scores can actually be maintained in form of blockchain data, and therefore any person trying to amend that will actually be met with the resistance. So this has been impossible in the past because there have been a lot of manual processes whereby somebody can go into the system, amend. They could even amend the records manually, or even on the documents, especially whereby even computerization was a challenge. And this, of course, led to a lot of challenges authenticating and knowing which certificate, which coursework, which course are right, and so on and so on. And of course, this would address a lot of the problems that are happening in the industry. We will no longer need now verifiers, all the time that is listed on sending documents for verification, all the stamps, all the signatures, all those verifications will now go away. And this is made possible by AI and online learning. And closely tied to that, maybe I want to give my colleague a chance to talk about data-driven decision making and how now online learning and AI can help data-driven decision making as far as education is concerned. How are you able to know who is performing better, who is not performing better, which class is performing better, and so on and so on.
Okay, thank you so much, John, for that. Very elaborate. So we cannot exhaust actually the issues of AI and online learning, their advantages, because they are countless. It's maybe I can just compare with the time when we did not have mobile phones and the age in which we are in when we are using mobile phones. Actually, the difference is like heaven and earth. There is a very, very big difference because sometimes we ask ourselves, how are we surviving without mobile phones? When we look at the efficiencies that have been brought by mobile telephones, it's the same thing that is happening now when we talk about AI, when we talk about virtual learning. And now in this case, of course, when we are talking about the issues of bringing in the issues of data analytics, which as Finstock Evarsity College, of course, we are taking seriously, and we even have classes for the same. Where now using data analytics, you can be able to gain a lot of insights. Of course, you can be able to have virtual classes or maybe virtual forums with people, take up data, and of course, you can be able to use tools in terms of data analytics, which are going to, once you do the analysis, you can be able to get insights from the analysis. Then, of course, from there, you can be able to make what we are calling data-driven decisions, of course, which are objective in nature, which are not driven by intuition, which are free from bias. And in that way, of course, there will be what we are calling fairness. And I know most of you, maybe if you have interacted with our website, you have seen those kind of programs which we are carrying out. So this story basically is endless. We can go on and on talking about it, but we just wanted to excite you and, of course, to let you know or rather create awareness what this idea of virtual learning is all about. It's important so that you'll not maybe be seeing your colleagues progressing in their career because maybe they are taking programs at their own time. Well, maybe you yourself, you're only sticking to your schedule so that until when you get time looking for physical classes. And I think having said that, or maybe we can encourage you is just to continue interacting with the website. You're going to learn much more about virtual mode of running. I don't think we have anything else at this point in time. Press religion is something we have left out.
Thank you, sir. So far, I think we have covered as much as we can. We are going to revisit some of these things in depth. But of course, that is going to be invoked by what do you think? Is there something that we have said that you think to the contrary and that you can help us to understand better? Because we don't claim to know everything, but we claim to be very receptive to opinions and to also to new ideas. Because as we say, online learning is a new thing, is a new trend, it is evolving very fast, and you could be out there, you may be having ideas, you may have an opinion about some of the items that you're speaking about, and you may want to add on to that. So hit us on our bio, on our comment section. Make sure that at least you say something so that we learn and we share and we collaborate so as to get better and better in this new dispensation of online learning. At this point in time, I don't think there's anything else we want to cover. There are so many other things that we have prepared for you, including industrial training. That is something that we want to cover because we would want you to know how does industrial training link with online learning and how does AI play a role in that. We will also want to talk about the job market at one point or another, because the only reason, or the most important reason, why education is being pushed or is being invested in is so that people can get jobs and can be able to make a meaningful life out of it. So we are also going to ensure that at one point we discuss about that. So please ensure that you stick with us, follow us, and also visit our offices for more information so that you can also see what it is that we're doing and engage us in the best way possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.